Hello, welcome to today's video. This is lesson number 1 for the first Gymnopedie by Eric Satie, a French composer. This is considered one of the most beautiful and popular pieces in classical music. And let's go ahead and take a look. We have here a piece that is in 3/4 time, similar to the style of a waltz. As a matter of fact, this accompaniment is characteristic of a waltz accompaniment style. As a matter of fact, the word Gymnopedie refers to dancing, so we can consider it as a dance. The tempo instruction says to play lent, doloreux, which means slow and painfully. I am not sure exactly what Satie meant by that, so whatever the interpretation means to you, I suggest you apply that to your performance. So we are in the key of D major, which means all Fs are sharp and all Cs are sharp. Later in the composition there will be accidentals and some naturals, which will bring it back to the white keys. But until then we'll just consider these two sharp. The first step for learning this piece is the accompaniment in the left hand. So for the first page, which will be for this video, we have a repeating bass line of G and D for dotted half notes in the bass line, and those will repeat throughout pretty much the entire time. Some of the notes are different as the pages progress, but for this page, it's only G and D, which spell out the bass chord, the bass for the chords G major, major 7, and D major 7, which is the subdominant and the tonic, respectively. Okay, so let's go ahead and just work on the bass line. For the first 4 measures, I would recommend playing that bass line only with non-legato and without pedal. Let's go ahead and practice that. A very, very small and a very tight non-legato is what we should recommend here. Let's go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. G, 2, 3, D, 2, 3. Not too much of a space in between, but a space nevertheless. For the right hand, just for the first 4 measures, we'll go ahead and play these chords. Now, as you can see, Eric Satie has kind of split them between the bass clef and the treble clef. Usually that means the chord should be played by both hands, but to make it easier for the first 4 measures, we'll play them both, or we'll play them all with the right hand. So let's go ahead and spell out these chords here. We have B natural, D natural, and F sharp. That does spell out a B minor, but when we add the G, it makes it a G major 7. So let's go ahead and play that together. It comes on beat number 2. 1, 2, and then the next chord is going to be A natural, C sharp, and F sharp, which would usually sound like an F sharp minor, but it is actually D major 7. Okay? So these chords should be played with the full arm weight. And as we lift, we'll apply the 5-finger technique of lifting of the wrist, gracefully coming back down with full arm weight. The reason why we want to apply full arm weight is to play all 3 of these notes, just as with any chord, together as one. Let's play it down together. As opposed to playing it sloppily, which is notes here and there. See how we just, that doesn't sound right. That's not how we should play any chords, especially a beautiful piece such as this. So full arm weight is recommended to play all 3 notes as one. And then we release with the wrist. Come for the next one. Full arm weight. Release. Let's practice just the right hand. 1, 2, 3. Rest. 2, 3. Rest. 2, 3. Rest. 2, 3. Rest. 2, 3. And so that will be just for the first 4 measures. Let's practice those together, left and right. Remember, this is all non-legato and without pedal. 1, 2, 3. And there you have it. It does have an indication inside of the staves to play this at pianissimo, so it's going to be very soft. Make it very delicate and very light of a touch. Starting at measure number 5, we have the introduction of a melody on beat number 2. The melody, which is to be played with the right hand, because it's not possible to play these notes and to play the notes on the bottom with the right hand. So we're going to have our left hand jump from bass to chord. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So when we have our bass note, usually we're playing with 2 and 5. I would recommend playing with 3. That's what I usually like to do. Play from 3 and apply now the pedal, because this note needs to be sustained as we come up and play the rest of the chord, which is B, D, and F sharp. And then, of course, when we have our D, same thing applies. Full arm weight to play it together. We don't want it to sound sloppy or like a rolled chord. Not only should it be full arm weight, it should be a very light touch because of the thickness of this accompaniment. We don't want to compromise the integrity of our melody. The melody is a very sweet, simple line of music. And because of how simple and light it is, it should be louder and not softer, or the same volume as our accompaniment, which is quite thick. Let's go ahead and practice just the left-handed part when we do the jumps. Okay, so play it very lightly. Make sure that you have the right fingering, which is 5, 3, and 1. Same thing for here. And play them all together. Practice playing them all together with the left hand, especially if you are not left-handed, is to practice very loudly first, and eventually get softer. As soft as you can, without missing any notes. Sometimes if you do too soft, some of the fingers may not play a note entirely, and it will not sound. It should all sound together, without sounding like a rolled chord. So full arm weight coming down onto those notes. Let's try it together, starting at measure number 5. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and with the use of pedal, I would recommend at this point in our lesson to simply play the note, then catch the note with pedal after the execution. For example, you're going to be playing at this tempo or this beat, this kind of rhythm. You'll play 1 and for the pedal. So you'll press it down for the 1, and the pedal comes down on the and of 1 to catch it. Now remember that you should play that pedal or depress that pedal while you are playing that note. If you depress it after you release it, it will not catch it. Or just a little bit of it, and it won't sound proper. So make sure to press the pedal down while holding the finger down fully. See, that one wasn't good. Let's try it again. And as you do that, make sure that you are able to do it at a nice rhythm. You don't have to hold it down for the entire time. You can, take your time coming back and forth, not having to do it so quickly, okay? And that's what the pedal is made for. As we get into the next part here, which is going to be, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Measure number 9, something else happens. We are able to have the right hand share in the responsibilities of the chords again. But before we get to that, let's return back to measure number 5 and introduce the melody. Now the melody has its own dynamic indication of pianissimo, plus it is to be played legato. Okay, so we see the slur extending from measure 5 until measure number 9. So all that should be played legato, even though we have our pedal. Never let a pedal take the place of a perfect legato. Okay? And another thing, also we have a crescendo, which starts at measure number 5 up until measure number 7 to beat 3, where that D becomes the zenith of our crescendo. Then we have a quick decrescendo for a measure and a half. All right, let's go ahead and just practice that part. Let's practice it without the pedal for the first time, so we can get an understanding of how to play this properly with legato. Please watch my fingering. I will recommend the fingering in the link below. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1. I noticed I did do a few finger substitutions, and that is to assist with the legato. Once again, make sure that you have a nice crescendo, where that D becomes the highest note, and then we have a decrescendo when playing on that A natural there. Some people like to make that the loudest note, but that is actually not the loudest note. This should be softer than this note. Okay? We are cadencing there, but Satie says this one should be loud. Alright, let's go ahead and try this again. 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, very nice. Let's go ahead and put them both together now, making sure that you are able to successfully bring the left hand nice and accurately and quietly, while the right hand plays a nice, beautiful melody that's louder. Here we go. Starting at measure number 5. 1, 2, 3. Alrighty, very good. Let's try that one more time. 1, 2, 3. At measure number 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. At measure number 9, we're going back to just the calm interlude or introduction what we had at the beginning with just the chords. Except we have a tied F sharp, which is to be held for 4 measures. Now notice that although we have a tied F sharp, the chord of G major 7, and D major 7 includes that very same F sharp. Now, this is a very strange phenomenon. For those that have acoustic grand pianos, you do have an advantage to use the double escapement by continuing to press down on that F sharp without fully removing it multiple times. For those that have an electronic keyboard, it may not work as well, but I would recommend always keeping your finger number 4 on that F sharp while you play the remaining notes again. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to just practice playing that F sharp and playing the rest of the chord along with it. Okay, so we have F sharp down. Keep holding it. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And as you hold that note, you'll notice that it's still sounding. Even though you don't fully remove it to stop the sound, you just barely remove it to repeat the note again, as a proper note should be repeated. Now, keep in mind, this F sharp for the middle notes there are not slurred, they are non-legato, though because of the tie, it should be played as though it is legato. Okay, let's go ahead and try it again, just the right hand, keeping that F sharp played throughout the entire time. Another thing also is, although we do have a decrescendo from the measure before, we should start a forte dynamic on beat number 2 of measure number 9. So when we play this note here and this note here, it should sound louder for that chord on the second beat. And then, of course, the bass line will sound louder too, because all these notes should be loud. And then we have a nice contrast when we return to pianissimo. Okay, let's try that again, just the right hand and the left hand. 1, 2, 3. So the question is, should we use pedal for this section? Well, just like when we did it with the first 4 measures, we did not use pedal, and we were able to successfully play a nice non-legato for the left hand. I would leave that up to you. I will not use pedal for these 4 measures here. Alrighty then, so let's go ahead now and take a look at the next part where we return to that same melody again, this time at measure number 9, at measure number 13, and we're going to stop at the first measure of the next page. Okay, so once again, the same thing is repeated. We have our jumps with the left hand at pianissimo. Make sure to have a nice pianissimo, subito pianissimo, because the previous measure was forte. It wanted to sound very abrupt, very sudden. The crescendo there. And that's where we're going to stop. Okay, so let's go ahead and review. Remember, for the left hand, we want to play non-legato for those bass notes for the first 4 measures. I would also recommend 9, 10, 11, and 12. Sorry, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 not to have pedal either. So, yeah, 10 through 12. 10 through 13 not to have pedal. And then for the melody parts, to use pedal to have a nice crescendo in the right hand, and to play our bass and chord for the left hand very lightly when that happens. We don't want to have competing notes going on here. Let's go ahead and do a run through from the beginning until the first measure of next page. And there you have it. Please practice these steps as many times as possible, and we will see you in the next lesson.